I am really super excited to present to all of you. I saw the people coming in, and some of you are from Mexico, some of you from all over the world. So thank you for being part of this. As an introduction, what I'm going to do is I'm going to introduce myself and my team. We're from Safety Chain, but then after that, we're going to pass it over to Leanne, and she's going to talk about the four amendments, the introductions. And just as Margaret mentioned, we're going to break out to we're going to have breakout rooms. And we're going to go into these four different sections and have a dialogue, a conversation about the amendments. Then we're going to be zoomed back to here, where we're going to just do a summary and a closing. We encourage dialogue, chats, conversation once we get to the breakout rooms. And once again, we're really excited to be here. As I mentioned, my name is Kevin Lee, Senior Solutions Engineer for Safety Chain. And just a little background on myself, I have over 30 years in enterprise resource planning, supply chain, demand management, warehouse logistics. And I come from recently, I was in the pharmaceutical space working with medical devices and life sciences. And my colleagues are deep into food. For example, Brandon Wright, our solution architect with the stylish glasses there, he was a plant manager and was involved in a lot of different food companies, management from the plants, dairies, different areas of the whole food life cycle. Shamini Shrick, there also, she comes to us and she's been here for over a couple years, and she was an auditor at Treehouse and Cargill and has over 10 plus 15 years plus experience from the industry side and from the audit side. Then last but not least, we have Larry Homuth. He's our regional sales executive here at Safety Chain, and he's been around the food industry, quality, supply chain for 7 to 12 years himself. So that's our panel of representatives from Safety Chain. But some of you may have never heard of Safety Chain. Who is Safety Chain? What do we do? Safety Chain, we're a large company. Well, we've been around for 10 plus years, and we dominate, have about over 1,500 sites in the food business, ranging from small accounts all the way up to your multinationals, Tyson's and Driscoll's. But what we do is we help you manage your plant, and we help you improve your uptime. We handle OEE, we eliminate paper, we stand on several pillars, and I'm going to talk about that in a moment. But we help improve your yield and ensure your compliance. What you're going to learn today about these amendments, our platform is a great utility, great tool to help you adhere to those particular requirements and pass your audits. So just to break it down a little bit, Safety Chain, these are the products we offer. I won't go to all of them because once again, we're here to learn about the amendments. But if you could think of Safety Chain in three ways, think of it as we have three pillars. The first pillar is we capture data from numerous devices, mobile devices, SPs, gateways, PLCs. We take the data. In the second pillar, we review and analyze it graphically with charts. And then the third thing we do is we allow you to action the data by generating TPMs, root cause analysis, and CAPAs. So that's what we have, and we break it out into these three different areas. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to turn this conversation over to Leanne so we could talk about the heart of the matter, the heart of the conversation. Leanne?
Okay, thank you, Kevin, and thank you very much to Safety Chain regarding and hosting this webinar. We've had a lot of questions about the code amendments, so this is actually very timely. So let me introduce myself, and I will introduce my team as well that is on the line. My name is Leanne Chuboff. I'm the Vice President of Technical Affairs at SQF. I'm responsible for the code amendments, GFSI, auditors, CVs, training centers, trainers, etc. Anything technically technical, if that makes sense. And database, not my thing, but the science part, that's my thing. So I am on the line here to talk to you about the code amendments. So hopefully you're already familiar with edition 9 of the SQF code, and our release in May, or our release back in October of last year, and in the implementation date of May of this year. On the line also is Tammy Van Buren, who is our compliance manager, and Christy Grzywinski, who is our technical director, and they will be participating in the breakout rooms as well. So you'll be able to meet them a little bit later. But at SQF, as you know, we have 13 industry specific codes. It has a farm to fork. We have a farm to fork solution. So starting on the farm for primary, whether it's livestock, plant, or aquaculture, all the way through manufacturing and pre-manufacturing, such as pack houses and slaughterhouses, and then processors such as food manufacturers, dietary supplements, feed, pet food, animal product manufacturing, and then storage and distribution, food packaging. And we also have a solution for retailers and food service. We have our quality code that focuses on the quality aspects. So hopefully, if y'all are familiar with SQF, you are certified to SQF. But then conversations. Okay, thanks for whoever muted it. Thank you very much. But the quality code is also applicable if you're not certified to SQF from a food safety perspective. So there's a lot of applications for that. So check out our website, sqfi.com. It has our codes. It also has access to the code amendments, and many tools, such as our guidance documents, our checklist. Everything you want to know about edition 9 is on there. So next slide, please. I don't know if I'm directing the slides. Who's directing the slides? But you can advance that. Oh, but before we begin, I do like to share our SQF antitrust policy. So our antitrust policy, we follow our antitrust that FMI has developed, our parent company, and we abide by this antitrust statement that was developed by FMI. So take a moment to review this antitrust statement that's in front of you. So just as a reminder, conversations regarding price fixing, boycotting, trade restrictions, dividing of territories, other violations of antitrust law are to be avoided. If you believe that the conversation is in violation of antitrust, please speak up and we will do the same. But fortunately, our conversations are about food safety, and that's non-competitive. So we're free to discuss issues, concerns, and best practices associated with food safety, and look forward to a productive discussion today. So that's antitrust. If you have any questions, feel free to put them in the chat or raise your hand or notify one of us at SQF, and we'd be happy to talk about that. Next slide, please. Okay, so let's get to why we're here, and that's about the 4 code amendments. And I am going to go over these 4 code amendments briefly. So, but the objective of this webinar is to go into these breakout rooms and discuss these topics in more in-depth. So medical screening or health screening, looking at approved supplier programs, especially in procuring in emergency situations, multi-site and how multi-site programs work, and also application of agricultural chemicals. So just to give you a background why we had to have these 4 amendments in the first place, these 4 amendments were based off our GFSI benchmarking review. There were 4 areas that GFSI, when evaluating our code against the GFSI requirements that we have to adhere to, there wasn't a good what they said is we were missing some of the interpretation. So we had the key requirement, but there was elements that were missing and needed clarification. So what we decided to do as a response was develop code amendments. The alternative was to release an entire new edition of edition 9.1. And we didn't want to do that because a new edition always causes fear in it, for example. So we wanted to to release amendments. So these are the 4 amendments, and I'll go over them. And again, the more detail in the breakout rooms. So number 1 is medical screening, or as I like to call it, is health screening. So medical screening seems to have an association with it, that especially during COVID, right? And how are we ensuring that our employees are, or auditors or visitors or guests, are safe to enter our facility? So in the SQF code, we already have a requirement in there that employees cannot work around food or food contact surfaces if they are sick, meaning if they can transmit a disease that is carried by food, a foodborne disease, Salmonella typhimurium, for example, hepatitis A, Shiga toxin producing E. coli. Those are some of the reportables that and are carried by food, from food to people or people to food. So what the code addresses is that you can't have people working around it. So what the code amendment has stated is that there needs to be a procedure in place so that there is a health screening check. Now, what this is, it's a procedure that identifies the risk. So you're looking at region, you're looking at the product, you're looking at the people, the process, etc. Looking at the particular reportables. So what are the pathogens of concern, the foodborne pathogens of concern, and reporting methods, right? So how am I going to communicate if I have been exposed or have been contracted one of these foodborne illnesses? So what are those methods, and then how is it responded to? So basically, we're asking for a procedure as it relates to food safety in medical screening. That is exactly what we need. COVID, that's non-food safety related. It's people safety, but it's non-food safety related. Our interpretation was that sites already had a procedure to handle medical screening or health screening. And that is the expectation, is that a procedure be in place in order to address the key requirements of medical or health screening. The second amendment is about approved suppliers, and there's 2 aspects to this. One is that in the approved supplier program, the contact information of that supplier needs to be maintained. Again, we assume that that is based off the contract, that there will always be that contact information available. However, we wanted to clarify it in this code amendment. The second aspect to this is procuring supplies in emergency situations. And what does that mean? I know we already have an emergency supplier, requirement within the SQF code, but our code needed to be a little bit further clarified. And what our code currently states, what it states in there, the requirement is that any supplies that are procured in an emergency situation need to be analyzed. However, what we need to do is expand that just a little bit and ensure that the emergency supplier process is included in the approved supplier process. So again, assuming that it was already in there, however, we just needed to make sure we clarified it within this code requirement. The third code amendment is multi-sites. And what we wanted to clarify in here are the specific food sector categories that can participate as a subsite in a multi-site program. So food sector categories 1 through 5 primarily are our primary sector. So livestock, aquaculture, looking at plant, pack houses, that is all included in the multi-site, as well as food sector category 26 in storage and distribution. So all of those can be included as part of the subsites in a multi-site process. So the difference, really, what you need to understand really is the difference between what is a multi-site versus what's not a multi-site. A multi-site has a subsite, and one of our main multi-sites is in the Pacific Northwest for apples. So we have apple pack houses, and we have apple orchards. The pack house is the central site, and they gather their apples from numerous different orchard sites. Those orchards are the sub-sites. So they're allowed to have a multi-site program. If you are a site that has a location in Chicago and Ann Arbor and Tallahassee and Sacramento, all around the country, then you are considered, you have a lot of sites, but you are not considered a multi-site. All right, so that's really the big differences. The last code amendment is on application of agricultural chemicals. And this again is a clarification. We already have a requirement in the primary plant code that the person that is responsible for purchasing the agricultural chemicals has to have the knowledge on the application of them. But we needed to go down just one level where the person applying those chemicals would also have that knowledge. Again, we assumed that would be part of the training process. However, we needed to explain it further in these code amendments. So as you can see, and I know there's a lot of chats coming in about these different code amendments, and we're going to get to those questions as part of our breakout session. So make sure you participate in the relevant breakout session that you have. But as you can see, some of these amendments, really, I feel like some of the questions we're overthinking many of these amendments. They're just enhancements to the requirements that are already in the SQF code. And so with that, I think the next slide, please. And we're going to hand it off to Kevin, I believe. Yep. Oh, no, the next slide is the summary. So Kevin, we're ready to go into their breakout rooms, I believe.
Awesome. I think we are. And let's, as Leanne mentioned, we're going to go into our breakout rooms. And within those rooms, we'll have a deeper conversation about these 4 code amendments. So we'll see you momentarily in your breakout rooms. Hello, everyone. Can I get a confirmation if someone can hear me in the chat? You can send the nonverbal feedback. All right, everyone. Make sure. All right, so this is the medical screening breakout room. And our conversation that we had, Leanne did an excellent job of explaining what the medical screening is and the other code amendments as well. But what we want to do is we want to talk about, what do you need a medical screening? Why do you need a medical screening procedure? What is the intent of the medical screening procedure? And what are the key components? Because it's as she mentioned, it's an amendment to the existing standard, but what we need to do is focus and make sure we understand thoroughly what it is. So what I want to do
You're muted, Kevin.
Hey everyone, operator error. I was muted. Thank you for letting me know that. And thank you for hearing. Can you hear me clearly now? So
Yes, sir.
All right. Thanks again for being on the call. So as Leanne mentioned, she went through the various medical procedures and the various amendments, but what we want to do is address these particular concerns. Why do we need a medical screening? What's the intent of the screening, and what are the key components? And what I decided to do was to first define it here. This procedure is designed, once again, to protect us. And if you look at your personal hygiene and welfare section of the SQF standard, it's already there, but we wanted to have a procedure because the procedure says what happens if those visitors or your employees or your contractors have an illness. or has one of these pathogens that's transmitted by food, you need to document you have to have a procedure documenting who do we contact, who do we, what do we do with that employee if they're on the line or they're close, they're touching the food or working in the food contact space? Do we reassign them to another area? So that policy would be generated by your HR and legal department. And the reason why I say it that way is every county, every state, every area, every country, every region may have a different understanding of what they need to do. But what's most important is we must have something to do. So I want to open it up, and Leanne touched upon this as well. This is for non-food pathogens such as COVID are not part of this requirement. Now, I did some research and reading in that policy and procedure for your health standards. You may document something for that, but for this particular code amendment, it's only talking about pathogens that are transmitted by food to food, from humans, from the food to the humans. I want to ask a question, and this could be a polling question. How many of you have a medical screening procedure within your operations today? And I think you're not on mute. So anyone who want to speak, they can ask, or if you have one, that's good. If you don't have one, then you're at the right place so we can get one.
So to address this is Palmer, to address this, one of the things we ended up doing was having in our procedure state that we request employees to self-report.
Oh, okay. So you set up a self-reporting. So that's clever. And what happens if, let's say, Kevin comes in and I say, you know what, I have an illness. I have this illness. Do you send them home, or why didn't they? Yeah, do you send them home? Do they go to a different part of the your plant, or what's your
depending upon what it is, we would have to reassign.
Oh, you reassign. Awesome. And did you have this particular procedure prior to October? I think it was officially enacted in October of 2021.
We had it, but it wasn't formally declared that we had it in general, but it wasn't specified that we are requesting them to self-report. And so to justify that we requested a self-report, the employees had to go through and acknowledge that they had been told that they had to self-report.
Now, I apologize for picking on you, and I appreciate this because we're all here to learn from each other. But let's say when two things, how do you have them self-report? Is it a kiosk, or they come in and send an email to their supervisor?
It's private to the management because of HIPAA.
Okay, exactly. So you have them send, all right, that makes sense. Any others that have a procedure?
I have a question.
Yeah.
You go first.
I was just going to ask a question of, is that the same thing, screening and self-reporting? In my kind of understanding of that, those are two separate processes. Can you kind of clarify or elaborate if that is an acceptable process?
From this perspective, in my research, and I'm going to take a star for Leanne when she comes back, my understanding is you just have to have a procedure, and you can execute the procedure as long as you have one stated and documented and auditable, that you have a process for identifying who has a particular illness, what's the way of not escalating, but communicating that illness, and a way to ensure that those representatives or that representative is not going to contaminate the food. But I think that's a great question, Mike. If that was Mike. I'm going to ask Leanne when she comes back and say specifically, is self-reporting a valid procedure? Because it doesn't say it's not. It just says you have to.
I actually had that same question, and that's how I ended up having we ended up writing it the way we wrote it. From discussions with Leanne. The issue was, because I am US based and we have HIPAA laws in the US, we can't, at least we were tied as an employer, you can't send somebody to go get screened and then review their results of their screening and use it. There's a whole legal issue with that. So that's why we opted to say, okay, the best we can do is ask that they report. I can have them acknowledge that they've been asked, but I couldn't require a medical, I mean, we can't send our employees to go get a blood test.
And we've got the same situation in Australia. So it's an issue with hepatitis A, obviously, and we do frozen berries, and hepatitis A is quite a major, food pathogen when it comes to handling. So what we've done is we've put it in our induction, and yeah, that's the only way we could really tackle it without legally taking it too far.
So is there an issue with the verbiage? And correct me if I'm wrong, I think the verbiage in the code actually says screening. Would there be a potential issue with that, or do we need further guidance or clarification on that?
I would recommend, and when we spoke with Leanne,
Hey, Kevin, I'm here also.
oh, okay, Leanne, speak for Leanne.
Tammy's here.
Oh, I'm sorry. Before I turn over to Tammy, I think in her overview, she mentioned, Leanne, you definitely, when you construct and write your procedure, you want to consult or contact your HR representatives and your legal counsel to make sure you adhere to those various laws and regulations as it pertains to HIPAA and other personal sensitive information. But Tammy?
Yeah. So Kevin advanced the next slide, and it has the definition up there of what medical screening is. And it's the process of detecting, reporting, and controlling foodborne illnesses. So, within the code and within the amendment, it doesn't say how you have to do that. And I know a lot of people are getting hung up on the words medical screening. Leanne mentioned that in her intro. She said, really, it's more of a health screening versus a medical screening. A lot of people, when they think medical screening, thinks it means that you have to go get a blood test, or you have to go to the doctor, or you have to do that. And that's not the intent of this. The definition as listed in the code amendment is from the FDA for screening. And the word screening is in there because that is the word that is in the GFSI requirement. It is medical screening. And so we are using the wording given to us from GFSI. And so we think that's where a lot of the confusion came from. However, as she stated, this is not a new requirement. The requirement has always been that you don't let sick people contaminate your product. That's always been there. So now the clarification is that it has to be documented how you're doing that. And then number two, that it includes everybody, not just your workers, but also visitors and contractors. So this is always a requirement that you should have already been doing this and not letting sick people, you had to have a process in place for not letting sick people out there. The code amendment just says it now has to be documented how you're doing that. So maybe that will help clarify a little bit.
So
There's not looking for medical records. There's no HIPAA violation here.
So if we already have this kind of stated in our GMPs, basically, how, if you're not feeling well, you need to report it to your supervisor. I mean, that's a documented procedure, right?
That could be one way of doing it. I think on the next slide, Kevin's got some great points of everything that needs to be included, those key components. Nope, we're missing a slide. Are we missing a slide?
Yes, I'll go back to the slides while we talk about the key components.
I can share that I had the same question, and what I had been informed from Leanne, it was either Leanne or you. I don't know which one of you came. It may have been you. I don't know.
There are a lot of days we feel like one and the same.
Yeah, I mean, it was one, if you had it written, but how did you demonstrate that it was implemented? And so that's where we went, and we had all the employees sign off that they acknowledge they've been communicated to, that they were told that they had to, request a report. But then by way of our visitor pamphlets and our intro when a visitor comes on site, it was documented in there, and their signing of the visitor book was recognition that they had been, you know, signing of the visitor pamphlet or whatever covered that they were asked to report. So it was kind of like their acknowledgement saying they had been told is the only way we could show the implementation.
Gotcha. Yeah. So a lot of the key components to, you know, what you all are mentioning, it sounds like you all have included a lot of those key components. And so, you know, you have to identify what the risk is to your product. So where that risk exists in the plant, where there's the potential for the contamination, to identify that. You have to, you know, be aware of what illnesses and what symptoms, you know, to look for. And there's lots of ways to do that. And then how you're going to, you know, report that or document that, and what you did as a result of that. So, you know, as Kevin said, you know, if an employee comes to you and says, hey, I'm not feeling well, you know, how are you documenting what you did as a result of that? You know, whether it was, you know, the employee left to go home, or whether, you know, they were reassigned to somewhere where there was no risk of contamination.
So I have a question real quick. I'm sorry. So we're kind of like doing the same procedure that as the person previous to me stated. We have it written on our GMPs for you know, the new employees review, and then also our yearly employees, you know, go through this training on a yearly basis or as needed. It's also on our visitors and contractors policy before that they sign in on the log, on the visitors log. So all of that, we're already implementing that, but on top of that, you're recommending that we have a record of when employees, you know, go home sick, that we're going to have a record of the reason why that they, you know, that they got reassigned or they left home early because they reported an illness. So that'll be in addition to our policy and the visitors sign-in logbook and the yearly trainings.
Well, so I can't tell you exactly how to implement that. But what you're looking for is when an auditor is asking you, you know, what's your procedure? What is your process for ensuring that sick people aren't entering the areas where they could contaminate the food? You have to be able to demonstrate to them that you're following whatever your process is. And then you have to show them some results of, you know, what you did. So however you put that mechanism in place, you know, I see lots of people are chatting some different things in. So HR is documenting this. So that's, you know, one way to do it. So yeah, it's just about, you know, making sure you can demonstrate to the auditor that you are following that procedure.
Okay, so I do have a question. So pathogens. So you're saying that it's not particularly, doesn't have anything to do with COVID, but
Right.
you want to be able to do a pathogen screening. Well, there's all different kinds of pathogens. So how does an employee or a visitor know what pathogens they're carrying unless they've been tested? That's where this is like kind of really gray for me.
Yeah.
And
So
to say that there's going to be, they need to be able to identify or report these illnesses or pathogens.
you know, nowhere in there does it say they have to report those pathogens, or they don't, you know, they don't have to come in and say, I have Hep A. You know, what they do have to let you know is that I'm not feeling well today. And, you know, and then you have to determine whether, you know, there's risk to allowing them in that production area where they could contaminate food. And there are lots of, you know, different ways to do that. You know, looking at symptoms is one. You have that up on the slide there where, so, you know, looking at symptoms is one way. And there are some pretty distinct symptoms for foodborne illnesses.
Tammy, this is Kim Allison. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can, Kim. How are you?
Okay, good. How are you? I'm just wondering if just looking for if it was a good resource or not. In the FDA food code in the United States, it talks about employees being excluded and restricted based on the big five, which are the most prevalent foodborne pathogens that people exhibiting certain symptoms should not be allowed to be near food, either restricted or totally excluded. So that might be a model that people would look at to
Yes.
see how to portray that, which of course it involves HR and making sure you're doing it right. But then it would just be like somebody recognizing that they either have these symptoms or they know that they've been in close contact, such as living with somebody who's been diagnosed with Shigella, for example.
Yeah.
Then they might say, I can't come. So they just know how to do it. There's no testing involved. There's nothing. I've been involved in a situation like that where everybody had to bring in, that it was bad. But either way, those things keep that out of retail establishments. So that would be the same type of thing to keep it out of manufacturing establishments. And that is in the USA in the FDA food code. However, that same principle would be, I'm thinking, something that fits these key components that's on the screen here.
Right. That's a great point, Kim. And the great thing about the FDA is that their resources are available. So even if you're not here in the USA, you could still access some of the documents that Kim mentioned there, and going on their website, and they do list some different symptoms. They do list different of the illnesses and things. And so that's a great suggestion, Kim. I believe also, if you look at our guidance document, I believe we may even reference in the reference section at the very end of the guidance document some of the FDA information, because they've got some great information on that. So that's a great point.
So for further clarification on the screening part of it, in this context, screening is synonymous with self-reporting. Is that what I'm understanding? In my view of it, self-reporting is a lower level of detection than a screening would be. So I just want to be sure that I understand the context of that verbiage.
And well, again, we're using the verbiage that GFSI has in their requirements, and that is medical screening. So that's the verbiage that we used. But we agree that that's probably what led to some of the misunderstanding, was the fact that medical screening has a wide variety of definitions. So if Kevin would go back to the previous slide, that's the medical screening definition by the FDA. OSHA has its own medical screening. I'm sure the Medical Association has its screening or its definition of what medical screening is. So we're looking at the definition here to detect, report, and control foodborne illness. So if that means to you having employees self-declare or visitors self-declare, then that's how you should write that into your procedure.
Tehime, this is Joe Wheeland.
Hey, Joe.
How you doing?
Good.
Hey, as an auditor, and I'm sure we got a bunch of other auditors out there, what I'm seeing is folks pointing to their GMPs, and they're saying, well, we've covered that in our GMPs, so therefore we're covered. But quite frankly, what we're discussing here amongst this group is a process to deal with someone that has been detected either through self-admission or through observation as potentially being ill. So it goes far beyond just pointing to the GMPs that says we're going to report when Joe doesn't feel good. There's a whole process that needs to kick in, as I understand it.
Exactly. And that was where that key components was driving that discussion, was that there's more to it than just, somebody self-declaring. So, all right, they've self-declared. So now what do you do? So, and it's more than just stating in a GMP policy, we don't let sick people on the floor. So that's, I reminded someone this week that just taking a copy and paste of the code and calling it a procedure would not meet that definition.
Yeah, the other point of confusion for a lot of companies right now is they're so fearful of having to take temperatures at the door when folks come to work, and or having them fill out some kind of questionnaire which is not consistent with what you're looking for here. And both you and I think Leanne brought that up in the SQF Unites, that this is not about a COVID screening, but that message is not out there. And people are becoming very anxious about, oh, do we have to go back to taking temperatures at the door and doing all this other stuff? So if there was a way that either GFSI or SQF could communicate that this is not necessarily about COVID, I think it would lower the fog limit.
Yeah, well, and Joe, we did put that it specifically says that in the guidance document.
Yeah.
That this is not about non-foodborne illnesses such as COVID-19. And I've probably said, I bet I've said that statement 200 times since COVID started.
Yes,
that
you have.
COVID is not a foodborne illness. So yeah, so I agree totally that there is misunderstanding there. Absolutely. So I'm going to hand it back over to Joe. I'm not to Joe, but to Kevin. He's our facilitator. I just jumped in.
No, your conversation, Tammy and Joe, and I think it was Holly. This is what we're here for. So we really appreciate that. And if others have something to say, because think of it, we just enacted this in October of this year. The code came out in, I want to say, May, Code 9 came out. So it's just, we wanted to bring this to your attention, to the forefront, so you can put mechanisms in place. So when the auditors do come on site or come and do their auditing, you're prepared and you're fully aware and knowledgeable. I think it's clever, and I called it clever when she mentioned it was a self procedure. I mean, we're not telling you how to do it. It's just saying it must be done. And you have to have a documented flow as to what happens if, heavens forbid, Kevin or Brandon is sick on the line and he tells his boss or her boss, and now what's the next step? How do you document that? And I think we're going to all learn together and we could share that information.
So do you think it's fair to say that a lot of it is going to be left to interpretation? Because like you said, it's not telling us how to do it. So a lot of times with SQF, it varies by auditor. Like 1 year, there's, to be honest, there's a lot of inconsistency where, we have an auditor come and they point something out because it's their discretion or interpretation. And then the next year we have another auditor and they're like, oh no, you guys are fine. Or, I don't know how this, wasn't an observation by the prior auditor, but this is what, you guys are, out of compliance in this section. So I feel like it sounds like there's going to be a lot of that, especially after the comment that the auditor on this training, made in regards to this policy and it being in the GMP policy, because on our GMP policy, we do state that employees have to be self-reported as well as visitors. And it does also say, how does management follow through with that? But I feel like a lot of it's going to be left up to the auditor on your side.
Well, Joanne, just to address your concerns. So, we are focused and have been for quite some time now on auditor consistency. That's one of the things that, we really focus on in our auditor training, as well as in our professional updates that we do with our auditors every year. So, I'm hoping that you're seeing an improvement in that inconsistency that maybe you've seen in the past. But, I also strongly encourage you that when you do have instances come up where there's an issue, please, if you think the code was not interpreted correctly by the auditor, please, there is an appeal process. There is a complaint process. If you think the auditor was not, following the code, please use those mechanisms to do that, because that will only help us improve that consistency. So
yeah, well, we were audited last, I think it was March. Yeah, and we're scheduled to be audited again next March. So I'm gonna, then I'll be able to tell, the difference. Or it's not so much, I think most of us probably try to stay away from, the arguing, or not arguing, but bringing up the inconsistency, because, we all just want to be here and do the right thing and pass our audit.
Exactly.
So, once, if it's something that we could, just, quickly, fix, we'll do it. But it just seems like every year I either have to add something different from what I was already doing, even though the code hasn't had not changed for the previous years. But I'm looking forward to seeing that consistency with our auditors. And I just feel like when there's a gap, like, oh, this is what SQF is telling you to do, but they're not telling you how to do it. So then that leaves a lot of room for interpretation within, auditors, and even us as, the facility.
Exactly.
I do have
Amanda, I was going to say, Amanda had posted a question, what particular symptoms are we looking for? Again, the FDA has some great information. I actually sent Kevin a handout today from the FDA and the American Medical Association that listed some of the different foodborne illnesses. Kevin mentioned the big five, but it listed some of the foodborne illnesses, mentioned some of the symptoms. In particular, for most foodborne illnesses, there are two major symptoms. Okay. So, bodily fluids are coming out one way or the other. So that is typically very, very common symptoms of foodborne illnesses. There are some that have just some slight differences, but for the most part, those are a couple very typical symptoms that you're looking for.
So
Hi,
I have a question. I have an audit that's scheduled not next week, but the following week. So with this this amendment coming out in October, am I required to have this in place and full training?
Yes, I can answer that question. So actually the amendment came out in September with an implementation, or maybe even last of August, with the implementation date of October 4th. So it's been out quite a few weeks.
Okay.
And
Tammy,
go ahead, Kevin.
No, that was
no, it's John from NSF. Having come from industry, I just want to make a comment on the issue around self-reporting. I've seen it written in terms of employment or conditions of employment that the employee or prospective employee has to sign off on a policy that contains the word knowingly. If you are knowingly a carrier, or you are knowingly having been exposed to somebody, that you are required to self-declare. That gets around the whole issue of screening and asking medical questions, which in Canada you're not allowed to do, and I'm assuming in the United States as well. So it depends on how you write your policy. It shows your due diligence that you've required of the employee to knowingly disclose if they have been exposed or they are a carrier. And then that there's no issue around asking medical questions.
And that's a great point, John. I was gonna say, if you actually look at the code 11311, it says personnel who are known to be carriers of infectious diseases. So I'm glad you pointed that out. That's a great point.
Thank you. And I think Brandon wanted to share something. Brandon?
Oh, yeah.
Well, we've got 4 seconds, so I think I'm today.
Oh, well, yeah, the breakout room is going to close in 53 seconds, but I want to thank you all 174 for coming over, because this is our goal. Our intent was to get everyone together and facilitate dialogue and discussion, because as long as it's at top of mind, we can figure out how to address this particular amendment and make sure that we're all keeping the food supply safe. But within the last 30 seconds, it's going to zoom us back to the main hall. So thank you all for coming to our breakout session and for the healthy dialogue. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Hey, everyone, can you see my summary?
Yes.
Awesome. I'm gonna pass the mic over in a moment, but I wanted to thank everyone who attended the medical screening. We had very good dialogue, healthy conversation about self-screening or self-assessing and different terminologies. We had representatives from Australia, Canada, the USA, all sharing ideas. And this medical screening, as we all understand, it's an amendment to an existing existing policy statement, 11311, I think it was. But we just want to make sure we have a policy and a procedure there documented saying what we do when those employees, contractors, visitors declare that they have some sort of sickness or illness. And also thank you. There was a few auditors on the call in our breakout room. We thank you for adding your comments as well. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to Leanne to do a summary on the other amendments. Leanne?
Okay, well, thank you. I unfortunately wasn't able to go into approved supplier, so I'm not quite sure who from Safety Chain led that discussion. So perhaps that person, Shamanique, I think you did that. All righty. So I'm going to just pass it off, and then you could pass it on to me for multi-site.
Oh yeah, no, I appreciate everyone who joined the approved supplier. Thank you for asking really great questions. And we actually have a follow-up question for you, Leanne, that we didn't know how to respond to it. It's basically a case of a co-man or like a co-man that's receiving product from their customer, and all they do is they go from bulk to retail packaging for this particular customer. And they said for their SQF audit that they were asked to have an approved supplier list of their customer, and that's something that an auditor has asked from them. And I thought that was a bit odd because that's technically not their product. You're just basically going from bulk to retail and giving it back to the customer to sell, and they own the ingredients, put it that way.
So was the question from the supplier was the question from the supplier about the co-man to see the co-man's approved supplier program? Or was it about the supplier to see their approved supplier program and the auditor include co-man as part of the approved supplier program? I don't think I'm following you.
So it's about the co-man needing to have an approved supplier list to say that the ingredient they're receiving from the customer is approved.
Right. So the auditor was auditing the supplier's co-man. And then,
yes.
Yeah. Okay. So couple things. It could be also, I don't know if it was an FDA facility, and that could be part of it too. So FDA, they need to have that. But a co-man needs to follow the requirements of the SQF code. So it's the auditor, the supplier needs to verify, are they following the requirements of the SQF code? And that could be, understanding all of the aspects. So from the co-mans, when they're looking at the co-man and the operation of the co-man, how are they looking at their suppliers? That co-man suppliers, as they're following an approved supplier program, following the SQF code requirements. So I don't know if the auditor has to look at the co-man suppliers, but they have to look to see that the supplier has looked at to ensure that those co-man suppliers are safe, if that makes sense. So it's almost like it goes down into the supply chain that co-man has to follow the requirements of the SQF code. How that's evaluated is based off risk and all that, but I mean, they have to follow those requirements. So it might be relevant to that aspect. So it's hard for me to respond on a particular, the auditor said this when I haven't seen, I don't know the process, the product, the co-man, I always feel like we're set up for failure because, it's a tricky question because the auditor maybe didn't quite say it that way, or the supplier isn't quite sure, what the interpretation was. So, but just the interpretation of that co-man requirement is that the supplier, that co-man has to follow the SQF code requirements. So it really, it's how the auditor is looking to see how is that site determining their co-mans and how are they being approved to the SQF code.
Okay.
Hopefully that answers your question.
I hope it does.
Yeah.
I think it was Homer who was in my session.
Yeah. Mind if I maybe put in a little more details?
Yes, please. It is your question.
We're sort of called a co-packer, and we pack for clients who purchase bulk from overseas seafood, and they store it in a public warehouse, and then they will ship it to us when they felt needed to convert them into retail bags. And then when we finish, we'll ship it back to them for their distribution. Now, how, like, we don't even know the next order, where is it coming from? So how do we approve that, like, you know, that particular production beforehand? So when we say approved supplier, all we can do at this point is our clients who provided us the material to pack is reputable as they claim to be. And, you know, I cannot.
Well, yeah, I mean, you're in a I don't want to take up time with this particular question, and perhaps
Right.
take this offline, and you can email me. We'll have our contact information.
Okay. Yeah, that sounds good.
Yeah, I think that would probably be a better use of our time, so that we can continue with the rest. So I don't mean to not answer your question, but I think I just need a little bit more clarification.
Okay, yeah, sure.
Mhm.
Thank you.
Yes.
I'll pass it to you, Leanne, to go through the rest. But we did have a really great session. A lot of good questions, a lot of good conversation.
Excellent. Good, good, good. I'll be quick in mine as well. Multi-site, there was quite a few people in there, and I was really impressed regarding that. So multi-site, we really went over what a multi-site is, the process of a multi-site, the difference between a multi-site and a lot of sites. We talked primarily about how to, we had sites that had, you know, 2 sites, and we wanted to combine the certification audit. How do I do that? And really the answer is mainly to go back to your certification body. So you can combine sites, but you do, you know, double your opportunities for non-conformances when you do that. But multi-site went very well. The explanation of those subsites 1 through 5, as well as 26. So had a really good dialogue in the multi-site room as well. So, and I will pass it over to Christy regarding the application of agricultural chemicals. I think there weren't, she didn't have a lot of participation, but I'm not quite sure. So Christy, if you're on the line.
Yes, absolutely. Miss Wendy had a wonderful question, and we were able to address it. She wanted to be sure that her pesticide, her employees that apply pesticides who are licensed to do so are sufficiently trained. Is that sufficient? And yes, that means yes, they are sufficiently trained. So I will point you to the amendments document, which I have right here. It is very helpful in regards to all of these, but particularly that application of the agricultural chemicals. Just to clarify, it's just saying that the person applying the chemicals, the agricultural chemicals, must be trained. And if you're already doing that, then you're already ahead of the game. So hand it back to you.
Okay. There were a couple questions that came in. One question that came in is about the SQF code changes for 2022. The question is, do these amendments mean that there won't be a new edition in 2022? And the answer actually is yes. That is the reason why we put these amendments in place. You know, the goal is to not keep publishing new editions. We recognize the stress that it puts on everybody, auditors, training centers, trainers. It puts the stress on corporations and the sites especially. So there will not be a new code in 2022. So yay, I know it doesn't, I think you can swallow these amendments a little bit better when you recognize this is the only change that you have. So yes. And another question that came in is regarding where these are on our website. And Margaret, if you go up a little bit she posted the link to where the amendments are, and they're right under the resource center. And one way that I get to them is, you just where there's the download the codes, you can download still 8.1 edition 9 or the code amendments. So they're right there on our website when you go to the SQF code, and Margaret just posted them again. So that's awesome. Thank you, Margaret. Will the presentations be available? Yes, they will. A question about, could a COA fulfill the requirement of the evaluation of emergency procured ingredient? And that's a good question as well. And somebody else actually responded and said they would want to see their audit report. So the purpose of that code amendment is to ensure that it's not just analyzing the ingredient, but you're also including that as part of the approved supplier program. So how are you evaluating the supplier as well? So it's not just the ingredient coming in, but it's the source and the supplier. So that has to be incorporated within your approved supplier program. And that's the point of that code amendment. So that so it's looking at the supplier, which is such a key piece, because all of our background for most of us is HACCP based, and you're looking at the ingredients and the risk to the ingredient, how to manage that risk, etc. But we have to take it back to the supplier level as well. So all very good questions. And I think we're ready to wrap it up because we still have trivia to do. And what I want to do is just the slide on the screen is about the audit process. So thumbs up if you guys already have audits in place, but the audit process is really, it's from start to finish. Really, it's in our SQF code. A lot of questions I get. The main question is how much and how long, right? And so how long really depends on where you are in your food safety plan development. If you already have HACCP in place, then I'm going to say 6 months. If you don't have anything in place, it could be up to 18 months. All right. And then once the how much part really all depends. It depends on the certification body, the auditor, your scope, how many languages you speak, for example, how many employees you have, how big your site is. So the how much is determined by the certification body, and the how long is the audit is really determined by your certification body as well. So that's all the questions that I see. Here's our contact information. So Homer, feel free to email myself or Tammy or Christy. And if you can't remember how to spell our last names or our first initial info@sqfi.com is always a good place to send questions as well. So I look forward to hearing from you, and I do appreciate all of your participation. And so I will send it back to Kevin.
How can I help you?
I will send it back to Kevin and to close us up. Any closing thoughts from Kevin?
Oh, yes. Well, thank you. We really appreciate this. And
yeah, I apologize I didn't get back to you. I had a webinar here that actually let me.
So anyway, we want to thank you. Here's some resources that you can find on SQFI upcoming webinars. And as a representative of Safety Chain, we really appreciate your time and your participation. And as I mentioned in the beginning, I wasn't selling our solution, but we are very strong in the food space, and we would love to hear from you and see how we can help you become audit ready 100% time so you can achieve and maintain your SQF certification. So thank you, everyone, and have a great day.
Well, stay on for trivia, though.
Oh, I'm sorry. Stay on for trivia. I think the Safety Chain folks can stay if they like, but I have to drop. All right. I'm going to stop the screen share, but thank you very much.
Thank you. Don't forget to stay on for trivia. So we have a fun trivia social hour planned, Thanksgiving based theme. And there, I was promised there were prizes. So Margaret let us do prizes. So if you give me just 1 second, I will ask that Christy and Tammy help me with our trivia. So, okay. Okay, I think I am good. So I got my Thanksgiving background on, and I am going to share my screen real quick. Hold on. Wait one moment. Because I have trivia. We have two parts to this.
There's a question of whether or not the Pilgrims had a food safety mindset.
I'm sure they did. You know, my guess is
Thinking survival was
yeah,
the top
kicks
most.
in. Yeah, I mean, cavemen had a food safety mindset too when they started cooking food, didn't they? So that's my guess. Okay, I'm going to start sharing my screen right now.
Probably high salt, some Armando said.
Yeah, to preserve it. Yep. No refrigeration, had to use salt to preserve.
Okay, I'm going to ask Tammy and Christy to monitor the chat because we are starting Thanksgiving trivia. And I don't know if you guys remember this last year, but there was this, oh gosh, it was trending. It was all the millennials were asking their mom how long it takes to microwave a 25-pound turkey. And the responses were really kind of funny because the responses were like, and it was a text, how long should I cook my microwave for 25 pounds? And in the end, they're like, why do you want to do that? I don't even understand why you'd want to do this. This one's so funny because this next one was like, how long do you want to cook a turkey? And the mom was like, I'm on my way. And then this last one is hysterical too, because the mom was like, wrap it in tinfoil, microwave for 30 minutes, then go buy a pre-cooked turkey because you'll have to feed the fire department. So some of those trends were just hysterical last year. And it's a good thing I'm on Twitter because I was waiting for my nieces to text this to me because I had my response like, why would you do that to a turkey? You know? So anyways, so Thanksgiving trivia number one, just some fun facts I want to share, and then I'll get to the questions. So there's 365 million pounds of turkey purchased during the last week of November. So that's a lot of turkey. 250 million pounds of potatoes, 28 million pies are sold during Thanksgiving, and 80 million pounds of cranberries are consumed on Thanksgiving. So my question to you is, SQF has certified sites in each of these food sector categories: turkey, potatoes, pies, and cranberries. How many SQF sites do we have combined that manufacture, no turkey farms or anything, manufacture turkeys, potatoes, pies, and cranberries? How many SQF sites combined? So I'm going to need Christy and Tam.
I'm looking.
I know. They have the answers.
So how do you want folks to put it in the chat?
Oh yeah, in the chat.
Chat it in.
Yeah, chat them in. Thank you.
And the person closest is going to.
Yeah,
Good guesses. Good
Yeah.
guesses.
We have a specific number, but y'all will come up with a.
When someone gets close, or are you going to cut it off?
So should I give you a hint? It's
Well, I like the person that said 12,000. They're very.
Yeah, that was my favorite. Yep. Go for broke. Yeah.
Did I give you a hint? Do we need hints?
Well, we have someone that's gotten very close.
Oh, okay. Awesome.
All right. So yeah.
Can we say lower than 12,000?
Yeah.
Can we do that?
Okay. What do you guys think? Is the person plus or minus 10?
Yes.
Oh, I say done.
They were within 5.
Oh, okay. Close it. That person wins.
Yeah. Yep. I'm going to scroll to the bottom just to make sure that nobody got closer. But the very first person that chatted in was within 5, I think. If you want to go ahead and put the answer up there, Leanne.
177 total sites.
Yes, the very first person that answered guessed 172.
Wow.
That was Kelly Bowman. Congratulations, Kelly. Got really close.
Wow. It's like she was looking up. She knew the question. Oh my goodness. Oh, Kelly, I think you're pretty good. I'm trying to give hints to the question. Okay, so next one is Okay, so Thanksgiving trivia number 2. So each year, the president pardons a turkey, and I put this one, this was from last year. I know it's not this year. So this year's turkeys are actually coming from Jasper, Indiana, I believe. Last year's turkey came from Ames, Iowa, which is home of Iowa State. Woo, my alma mater. So that's why I put this photo in there, because I was like, go Cyclones. So my question is,
got another Cyclone.
Oh, yay, go Cyclones. Who was the first president to officially pardon the Thanksgiving turkey? I need the complete name of the president. The first president officially pardoned. So when it was officially recognized as a pardon. Let's see.
Not seeing it yet.
No, it was,
Yeah.
let me see. He was, oh, I could give you his number. I believe I know his number. Do you want me to give you the number? He would be considered 41, I believe.
Ah, there we go.
We got a winner.
Corey.
Corey Chapman.
Yay! So George H.W. Bush. So 43 was George, I don't know what the other George.
George W.
George W. Yeah. So H.W. was, so Reagan did it. Actually, it started with, and fun fact, with President Kennedy, and he just gave it an official, we're not going to eat you in particular. And then it just continued. And these turkeys actually go to a petting zoo. So it's all quite nice. Okay. And I want to talk about green bean casserole, because I love green bean casserole. I only eat it one time a year, and that is at Thanksgiving, like with everybody else. The original name of so Campbell Soup, SQF certified, shout out to Campbell Soup, SQF certified. The original name was green bean bake. And green bean casserole served up 20 million Thanksgiving dinners. And 50% of the cream of mushroom soup sales occur in November. I'm not quite sure what else you use cream of mushroom for, except for green bean casserole. However, that's where most of green bean casserole is. So, shoot, thank goodness. Okay, so question, I have 2-part questions. Sorry, ladies, 2-part questions. Number 1, when was this infamous casserole invented? And how many ingredients are in the official green bean recipe? Not the original, the official green bean recipe. How many ingredients are in the official green bean recipe? So when was it invented, and how many ingredients are in this green bean recipe?
Do they have to get both answers correct?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. I don't know. I was given 7 prizes, unless Margaret wants to give out 8 prizes.
Okay. Just wanted to clarify.
We have a winner.
We are ready?
Yeah, we have a winner.
All righty. 1955 is when this was first released by a home economist in the Campbell Soup kitchen. And it was not originally intended for Thanksgiving. It had ham and bacon, which actually sounds delicious too. I kept thinking, I was like, whoa, there's something to add to that for Thanksgiving. And only 5 ingredients. And I posted the recipe just in case you guys want to get all jazzed for Thanksgiving. I have, so, with all the supply chain concerns, I was concerned that I wasn't going to have the right ingredients. So I already bought these ingredients for my Thanksgiving along with my turkey, and I'm ready. As long as I have turkey and green bean casserole, I'm thinking everybody in my family will be happy. So that's that. All righty. So now the fun part begins, and this is where I look to Tammy and Christy. So this part, we're going to do Pictionary. All right. And let's start with, I'll text my word. I get to go first. I'll text my word to Christy, and then and I'll stop sharing my screen. Sorry about that. And then she will share her screen and start drawing her Thanksgiving themed picture. So when you're Christy, I'm gonna text it.
Hold on. Let me share my screen and make sure I'm ready.
Okay, and just for the official word, we have no idea of the word that's getting texted to us because we thought it would be more fun that way.
Okay. Okay, and I think my screen is hung up. Can you see it?
No.
No.
Oh. Says I'm sharing, but I'm frozen. So.
Oh no.
Oh no, right. You might want to go ahead, let Tammy do it and maybe I'll get unfrozen. Oh, I'll stop sharing.
Black screen is the answer. Yes, it is.
Nope, I'm completely frozen. I don't even think I can stop sharing.
Oh no. Maybe the Zoom moderator or, oh, there you go.
There I am. That was
we got it.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you.
Try it again.
So yeah.
Okay, let's try it again. You know, and I was all ready and everything. Okay. Let's try one more time.
Keep our fingers crossed.
There you go.
Yay. Okay, here we go. Okay, wait. Let me move my picture. There's my picture of all my people. Okay. All right, here I go. Got my pen ready. Okay, and you're gonna guess in the chat, folks. I'm using my mouse. Is there a time limit?
Well, I'm hoping somebody will get it by then.
Okay, all right, I'm gonna start. So get your fingers ready. Oh, and you can't use words. I'm getting too creative here. Is anybody getting it? No, nobody's even guessing. Yeah.
Oh, hey, yeah, we have a winner. Aaron.
Jason got it.
Seriously?
No, really? I didn't see it.
Yeah, I saw Aaron. Aaron is the person I saw with the first one, but we'll look back through the chat, but somebody did get it.
Okay.
Roadkill, somebody put in there. That's hysterical.
I have to see this. I can't see your answers. Oh my gosh. Who got it? I want to give them a big vaccinated hug. Oh my gosh.
Wait, I don't see it.
Yeah.
Yeah, turkey trot. Yes. The answer is turkey trot. So wait, no, I think Aaron.
Yeah, Aaron is the first one I saw.
Oh my goodness, that's awesome.
Oh my goodness, thank you. I thought we're doing this for a while. Oh my gosh, that was wonderful.
I thought that was great.
I think the people who wrote Over the River and Through the Woods, your one holiday.
Right.
Oh yeah.
That's hysterical. Plus, I love like turkey roadkill. What kind of Thanksgiving do you all have?
As soon as I drew the road, I'm like, oh, that was probably
awesome.
Oh my gosh. Oh yeah, I see. A couple people got it. That's awesome.
Okay, so can you, so Kelly Bowman won the first prize. Who won the second, the third, and then this one?
Julia Parcina won the third one.
I have that written down. Yep.
Yeah, the second one, I didn't write the name. I'll have to go back and look through the chat.
Yep.
Oh, no, it was Corey Chapman.
Oh yeah, Corey.
That's right. That's why we didn't write it down.
Yeah, that's why we didn't write it down. We know Corey. And then Aaron, and we only have a first name for Aaron. So if Aaron could give us her last name in the chat, that would be great.
Aaron.
There we go.
Yeah, gotcha.
Okay, awesome. Alrighty, so one of you all is up next. Who wants to draw next? Tammy, me, you?
I can draw next.
Okay, give it up for Tammy.
Scared.
We don't know what's coming our way.
I don't know what's coming.
Christy, it's your turn to give Tammy.
Oh gosh. Okay, let's do this one. Oh, I got a couple good ones.
I know, I have a few good ones written down, so.
This one might be. All right, I'm not even going to qualify it. All right, you ready?
Yes.
Oh, nice.
Oh, okay. All right, let me get my screen shared here. Okay. All right, hopefully you all are seeing my whiteboard.
Yes.
Okay.
Oh, wait, I need the chat.
Okay, so are you ready, Christy? You're watching chat?
Yes, yes, yes. I am ready.
Okay.
Aaron's name.
Okay, here we go. Let's.
Cranberry sauce is, oh, are you talented?
Oh, haven't seen it yet. Haven't seen it yet.
Oh, that's a good one.
Yes, we got the answer. We got the answer.
Amanda got it. Yay. Oh, look at you. You are very talented, Tammy. I never would have thought of that. I don't even know what I think I would have
Well,
done.
I would have drawn one that would have looked like a brown emoji.
That's a good one.
I thought about adding the can,
Yeah.
and little thing and have it spray out, but I started simple.
Yeah, mine would have looked like a brown emoji, if you're familiar with that one. Yeah.
All right. So who, the winner is?
The winner was Amanda. So Amanda, if you can type in your last name, I believe it was Amanda.
Oh, wait, no, I'm seeing Robert up. Oh, I'm seeing a few people above that.
Let's see, who was the first?
Oh, really?
one?
Yeah.
Who was the first one?
Yeah, lots of people got pumpkin pie, and then it looks like maybe Robert Dahl.
Let me see.
At 221.
Yeah, I've got Aaron Fulmer.
What was the actual picture?
Oh, yeah, it was whipped cream.
Whipped cream.
Aaron, I see Aaron too. Aaron Fulmer.
Yes.
Oh, goodness. Here, I thought it was, Amanda. Sorry, Amanda. I saw you first, but oh, well. Sorry.
It goes so fast. All right. Okay.
Next, goodness gracious. Hold on. Let my screen shared, and then hold on. Oh, shoot. Okay. Oh, my bad. Okay.
Ready?
No. Not at all. Okay, let me move you people. Okay. Okay, I think I am. Okay, hit it. Oh, goodness. Okay, ready?
Oh my. Okay, wait, let me get my chat. Okay.
Yeah, get my chat up.
Salmonella. No. Oh, we got it already. We got it already. Let's see. Who was the first one? Colleen J. Colleen J.
Corrine.
Hey.
Oh, Corrine. My apologies. Corrine J.
Yay.
It is family. Yes, that was an awesome one.
That's a good one. Well, we have one more. I don't know if you want to have somebody volunteer to do it. Does anybody want to volunteer to do a drawing? We can do a private message to you. So raise your hand. If you want to do your own, share your screen and do your own drawing, it's just a matter of, or if not, then I would volunteer. Margaret, no, you don't want to draw.
Oh, see, I gave you all my ideas. Okay.
I don't see anybody raising their hand and jumping to do this. So I think I'm going to nominate, I don't know, Tammy, you're really good at drawing. I'm going to nominate Tammy.
Okay.
Look at somebody's like Tammy. Exactly. Let's go with the first one that Christy texted you.
Okay.
Oh my.
Wow. Yeah. Okay. All right. Let me get my
Ready?
back up. All right. Okay. Here we go. All right. Oh, wait,
You got to share your screen.
Oh, yeah, that helps. All right, let me get back to my, there we go.
And this is, I think, our last prize.
Oh, let me clear my screen here.
Pumpkin pie, yeah.
Okay, and now
I'm glad you're having fun.
I know.
You're having fun.
Okay, go for it, Tammy.
Go. Here's the next one,
Here we go.
guys.
Oh, you are so good.
Yes.
Look at you go. Toast bread. No, that's not it. It's a little bit more than a, you have to be, she's going to have to keep. Oh,
Great. We saw it. Wait,
Somebody
somebody
get
already got
Okay.
it.
Christine, I think, right? Christine.
Let me see. Let me see. Let me see.
Oven was a good one. Armchair, but no recliner. Oh, no, Kathy got it. Christine,
Yep.
I think.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, you guys are so good.
So good. Wow. If there is a Pictionary contest, I'm inviting everyone.
I know.
Yeah, you guys are good.
Did
You
you
all
see
are
who got it?
so good. Yeah.
Okay, so who was the seventh winner?
Christine, but I don't know her last name.
Wait. Oh,
Am I
it says
right?
Christine. Yeah, we don't have a last name, Christine.
Mayor.
Mayor. Okay. Christine Mayer. Yes. All righty. Well, that's all we have planned for our social hour. I do appreciate you all hanging around. And look at her. He's like, let's do it again. Yay. Well, good for
Isn't
you.
that fun?
We can do it again. I believe our next roundtable is in January, Margaret. I'm gonna, yep.
Yeah.
So our next, we have another roundtable planned in January and February. So hopefully y'all can join us then. I just love sharing more SQF information with you. And I love these little trivia things. So
This was a blast.
amazing. Yes. So
And good information too. Yeah.
exactly. Yeah.
So
That's
in
good with-
January, we're teaming up with Mary U. And in February, we're teaming up with NSF. So,
So many
so-
thanks
Stay
to
tuned.
Shane though
Yeah.
for hosting this event.
Yes.
We do appreciate your partnership. We appreciate your support, especially at SQF Unites, and we appreciate you hosting this event and putting this all together. And so thank you very much to Safety Chain, to Tammy and Christy and Margaret, and we appreciate each and every one of you. And this Thanksgiving season does make us feel thankful for so much, and especially each and every one of you and all our SQF certified sites and partners, CBs, auditors, trainers, training centers, etc. So thank you all very much. I hope you all have a wonderful Thanksgiving, and thank you for keeping our supply chain safe. We appreciate you. Thank you. Bye.